What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to be reacting to the Joe Rogan N-word controversy. I'm going to be explaining what exactly happened and giving my honest thoughts on the whole situation. Alright, so recently Joe Rogan has been under massive fire because a montage compilation video surfaced of him saying the N-word repeatedly. Now, if you're not familiar with who Joe Rogan is, he basically has the most popular podcast in the world. And full disclosure, I'm actually a big fan of the podcast. I like the way he does interviews. I think he's pretty intellectually consistent. And I like the fact that he doesn't have an agenda, really. He just listens and asks questions, unlike pretty much all of modern news, which has a point that they're trying to prove to you and shove down your throat. Joe Rogan doesn't really do that, at least not to my knowledge. But anyway, so let's start off by playing the video in question. Warning, it's going to contain offensive language, but let's jump into it.
Nigger. You've already said nigger. D is just like nigger. Saying nigger. She's calling you a nigger. It's like this boy that he's a nigger, but starts calling them niggers. Word nigger. There should be a word like nigger, especially like the word nigger. That's our nigger. About niggers. He says nigger. Guy, a nigger. And there are niggers. Start saying nigger. Allowed to use the word nigger. Out the word nigger. See nigger. Word nigger. Say nigger and he couldn't say nigger. And most nigger.
Yeah, so this obviously sounds pretty fucking bad, right? So right after this came out, Joe Rogan issued an apology video where he basically said, hey, listen, I'm very sorry that I said this word. These are old clips. They were taken from 10 years ago before, it was as big of a deal to say that word publicly. And I never said that word at someone. I never meant it in a racist way. Every time I used that word, the context was as I was talking about, the history of the word or the term, or I was quoting somebody. I wasn't actually making a racial slur against anybody. So what are my honest thoughts about this? Well, I think a few things. First of all, the N-word is a very unique word in the sense that one group of people has a complete free pass to say it, and another group of people absolutely can't say it. And that's fine. I personally don't have any problem with that. I recognize the history of the word. But what you have to keep in mind is 10, 15 years ago, when these clips were pulled from, it was a little bit different. Using that word was much more of a gray area if you were a white person. It wasn't like it is now, where as a white person, if you say that, you're basically just begging to be canceled, right? It's just like you're being an idiot. Back then, it was a little different. Obviously, you could not use that word at someone. You couldn't say like, you dumb N-word, right? That would have still been very bad. But using that word when you're quoting somebody or talking about the history of the word was kind of a gray area. And that's when the clips were pulled from. So it's not like Joe Rogan is just oblivious to the way the culture has changed. Hey, if you guys are enjoying the content on this channel, then make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, and click that bell for notification, right? We take the word faggot, right? And again, I think, first of all, there's a big difference between using a word to hurt somebody, between, just like saying, joking with your friends, or actually calling someone, the N-word, or saying you're a faggot, right? Those two are completely different things. So I think context matters. And of course, you can make the argument a lot of people have that using the N-word is wrong either way. And that's fine. That's a fair argument. But you have to keep in mind that 10, 15 years ago, that wasn't the prevailing thought at the time. 10, 15 years ago, it was kind of a gray area. So I think that's an important thing to keep in mind, right? The second thing I think that matters here is that Joe Rogan is clearly not trying to be racist, nor is he racist. Like, if you objectively look at him, like, he's not racist in any way. He does tons of interviews with, black guests. He has never shown any kind of racist slant. And I get it, he used an inappropriate word that he shouldn't use, but the goal wasn't to hurt people. And I think intention really matters. So yes, I mean, if some people feel hurt by that, that's fair. And, they have the full right to not watch his shit anymore. But calling for him to be canceled because of let's just say, a language slip up that he did, even though it can be hurtful to people, that's not really fair. That's not going to accomplish anything. I think the next important thing to keep in mind is what is the agenda here. And so this, the N-word compilation, it was put together by a really weird group that I started reading about, which do a kind of political action. But people have been going after Joe Rogan for quite a bit. And the media is really, really not fond of Joe Rogan. And there's several reasons for this. The biggest one is that he's more popular than them. So the Joe Rogan Experience gets more views than CNN or Fox News or all the news anchors. So first of all, it's jealousy. If they can get him canceled, then, they won't have to worry about him. It's a sleazy competition tactic. That's the first thing. The second thing is Joe Rogan is just much better interviewer, host than a lot of those other, news anchors. Like, if you go on CNN, there's going to be an agenda they're trying to push down your throat. You have a few minutes, blah, blah, blah. They're trying to catch you and shit. Joe Rogan doesn't do that. You go on his podcast, it's chill. It's a 2-hour conversation. You have a discussion. He's not trying to push shit down your throat. He's not trying to catch you in lies, right? It's a much more enjoyable experience. So Joe Rogan has a much higher ability to get cool guests, right? He's had pretty much every celebrity celebrity and every, person of interest on his podcast, at least most of them, right? So I think that's a big factor here that's not really being talked about, is why is this coming out? But irregardless, it's out, right? The video is out. He clearly said those things, and he's sorry about it. He didn't mean to hurt people. But the real question is, should he be canceled? The answer is absolutely fucking not. I think cancel culture is literally one of the dumbest things ever. It's just basically created by people who are ultra sensitive, who are worried about other people who are ultra sensitive, right? And people have tried to accuse me of being racist in the past as well, right? And I'm like, what the actual fuck? Like, there's actual racists out there that you can go after. Why would you go after someone like me or Joe Rogan? Like, clearly, like, neither him or I ever have any problem with black people or have any kind of real racism. And I'll be honest, like, in the past, like 7, 8, 9 years ago, I would occasionally use the N-word publicly, right? Never to demean someone, never at someone, but I would use it, to quote lyrics. Now I don't, because the culture has changed, right? I've realized now that it's no longer socially acceptable. That's fine. But back then it was a little bit different. And I don't know, like, if someone pulled up clips of me, fortunately I never said that publicly on air, but if those clips were pulled out of me out of context, it would be easy to make me look like a racist, which clearly from the bottom of my heart I'm not. So I think this whole thing is quite regrettable. And to anyone who was hurt by that, that sucks. He shouldn't have said that. But hindsight is 2020. There was no way he could have known back then that the culture was going to change and that word was going to be no longer socially acceptable. All right, hopefully you guys found this video valuable. Everything in here is just purely my opinion. And if you disagree, then that's okay. You can let me know in the comments. We can have a respectful discussion without trying to cancel each other, right? I think that's the way things should be. People always jump on the cancel bandwagon, but that should be the absolute last course of action and not the first go-to. Anyway, show us some love by smashing the like button, hitting subscribe, and clicking the bell for notification. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time.